Okay, so track one, Terrell's Dream. It's called that because our old drummer Terrell had a dream that the album would start with an organ solo, so it does.
Matt and I were at a cabin writing some songs for the album, and Matt came up with the idea to put a bunch of elements of a song in a hat, and you have to pick them out and try and write a song with all of those elements. So, for example, the arpeggiated guitar line at the beginning of the song, that's something that I picked out of the hat and had to include in that song when I first started writing it.
Yeah, and so Bucky had this song, and then but the lyrics were kind of about nothing, and I wasn't really digging the melody, so I went to the basement at Lipton, and I just bust there, and I saw this woman on Portage that was just so interesting. She was in her 70s, she had 80s headphones, like those big ones with the metal that comes around like a big loop, and she's wearing red high heels, but not only that, she had plastic covering over them for rain that just like, in any way that the high heels were classy, these made them unclassy. And then she had a cane, and she had those giant, like, you know, the old people glasses where they like cover your entire head, like that guy from Star Trek. And anyway, it's just such an interesting character, so the song ended up becoming about her and a couple other characters, and, you know, just people that are really interesting but might not necessarily fit in.
Matt hates old people.
I love old people.
Hey, hey, help is on its way now.
Hey, help is on its way now.
Neck? No neck.
Hey, help is on its way. I think a big part of that song was kind of something that the Beatles did in It's Getting Better All the Time, where Paul McCartney's singing, I've got to admit it's getting better, and John Lennon chimes in the background, it can't get much worse. So when Help is on its way, we're painting a scene kind of a city going down and kind of disintegrating and dissolving and being destroyed. But all throughout the verses, there's a voice in the background singing, hey, hey, help is on its way. It's kind of this happy-go-lucky, kind of naive voice, so the two voices are kind of counteracting.
Interesting thing about that Beatles song, Honda used it for a commercial before they realized that in the background somebody singing it can't get much worse, and regretted it later.
See, like, I mean, I can't scratch my neck.
But I'm allowed to say that.
Yeah, that's not fair.
I'm growing old in the city.
Growing Old in the City is a song I wrote about growing old in the city because I moved to the city and now I'm growing old here.
Me too. The Privatist Parts is a song. I realize Privatist is not a word, but I'm taking artistic license with that. Is a song about a sailor that goes out to sea and kind of leaves his family behind and encounters some interesting things along the way. And that was kind of a song that I didn't really have to think about too much. It's one of those lucky ones that you kind of just pluck out of the air somehow.
Tasty and succulent.
Perfect Swimmers is a song I took a film class a while back, and it's this 1929 version of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, and there's this really great scene in there where Mr. Hyde goes into this burlesque bar and just kind of lets his passions run wild, and it's pretty ugly, and the song was inspired by that.
Musically, that song used to be probably the most rock and roll song on the album, and we were probably about 5 days away from mixing the record, and we just weren't kind of feeling that version. It wasn't sitting nicely within the flow of the record, so Matt and I were almost ready to toss it out. But I told Matt, just give me like 3 hours of the song at the space, I'll see if I can just like change it. And then it ended up being this acoustic ballad that ended up on the record, and pleasantly surprised by how it translated into this new context.
And so I wrote all the lyrics for it in the melody, but it was just a little too high in my range, and I didn't have the grit that I needed. I was singing it, and it sounded kind of wimpy. And so then I said, Bucky, come here and sing this song. So Bucky's got the lyric sheet and the mic's right here, and he's like singing this song, kind of like figuring out the lyrics as he goes, and that's the take that's on the album, the very first time Bucky ever sang the song.
There ghosts
Ghosts in My Garden is a song that I wrote while I was still living at Liptonia, which is the house where we recorded our first album, and just having kind of a, gloomy Sunday afternoon, and kind of created a story in the basement of, we had a little vegetable garden out back, and about some ghosts of historical figures that lived there and might tell me nice things about myself or give me advice on what I'm supposed to do with my life.
Lesage, will you take me to where
So Lesage is a song that about my piano. I have a Lesage piano, which is a piano from Quebec, and my aunt gave it to me for free, and it's a horribly shitty piano, but we have a good relationship, and for a long time every day I would wake up and put my coffee down on it and kind of just like get all dramatic and stupid about all my white boy problems, and I was thinking what a crazy perspective this piano would have on me if it was alive. And then I started to get a little embarrassed, and then thinking about what it thought of me, and so then I wrote this song about, hey piano, you know what, you say what you want to say, and so then I played these things, and and that's Lesage.
Gonna build a roller coaster.
Okay, so Roller Coaster, that was right, the song was written like 3 years ago, right when that great MGMT record came out, and a lot of this is geeky musical shit, but a lot of their songs just go from the 1 chord to the 4 chord, and I've been writing all these songs with all these different chords and all these different, like, just cluster of things, and so I wanted to challenge myself to write a song with just the 2 chords and a melody and lyrics that were interesting, and let that be the focus. And so I just made a beat and played 2 chords for 4 minutes, and then that's Roller Coaster.
March Back into the Sea is a song that went through a lot of different transformations. It started out as a song on acoustic guitar and had a bunch of different lyrics, and in the end it felt like when we were kind of looking at the lyrics for that song, it summed up some of the feelings from the album. It just talks a bit about the idea that it's interesting that when you're away from someone that you love, your friends or family or whatever, and you call them on the phone and you're communicating these very deep feelings, it's being reduced to kind of digital information that's being sent through wires, and it's just interesting that some feeling so big can be reduced to this like little technological blip in the universe.
to my ears, the beat on